when to start scaling? That's not an easy question. Of course, you're going to want to grow right from the beginning, but I have some lessons that I've learned from growing my business.
We are back with Colin Rutherford, founder and CEO of Greenbox Storage and author of the Business Blitz newsletter. Today, we'll be talking about how to interview, train, and pay your employees. Colin, give us a high-level view of your hiring process.
Yeah, this is a great topic, one of my favorites to talk about, because as the owner or CEO of a company, it's your job to put the right people in the right places in your company so that your company can be successful. So one of the most important parts of that is the hiring process. So excited to talk about this today. I have a process that I've developed through my 5 years as a business owner, and it starts with the initial screening. Then we go through a skills assessment. Then we have a behavioral interview. And then lastly, we have a core values interview.
Tell us more about your initial screening.
So the initial screening is the top of the funnel. It's where all the applicants come in, and you want to, as the employer, you want to add as much friction as possible. So you'll filter out the applicants that are not serious about applying to this job. And so basically I ask a bunch of questions, background questions, but one thing that I love to include in every initial screening questionnaire is a 60-second voice recording. So all applicants have to record themselves for 60 seconds answering some question that you prompt them. So this adds friction and only makes sure that you receive serious applicants, that they are not just hammering the quick apply button on Indeed and applying to 50 different interviews. And you can also learn about their intelligence as well. So I really like this 60-second voice recording requirement.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. Adding the voice recording really will cut down on the number of unserious applicants. So now let's go into your skills assessment. Do you create one for each position?
Yes. Yeah, I'd love to include a skills assessment. If you receive an applicant you like, make sure you put them through some things that they will encounter on the job to see if they're actually good at it. And so you can kind of get a sense for their skill level. So, for example, if you're hiring a customer support specialist, create a series of questions to see how they would answer a customer in that position. If you're hiring a manager, create a series of questions about situations that they might encounter and see how they would handle them. It's not really important that they understand exactly how your business works, but you want to get a sense for how they think through a problem, basically.
Perfect. All right. So now the behavioral interview. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, this is the first interview. So after you had those first two steps, you've added friction and you've kind of narrowed down your applicants. Now you want to actually talk to the applicants in an interview. So basically, I'll just give you a list of questions I ask to get to know the applicant. So what research did you do about our company? I think this is a crucial question to ask. It's one of my favorites. It shows you if the applicant is serious, if they researched your company or not. If they didn't do any research, it's a bit of a red flag to me. I also like to ask for an overview of their past 3 positions. I like to ask why they applied for this position. I want to know about their best and worst boss and what made them that. That gives you a little bit of color about how they've worked with other bosses in the past. I also asked them to sell me on why we should hire you. That's a great one as well. And then finally, I ask for what their compensation expectations are.
Perfect. All right. So now your core values interview. This one's interesting. Tell us more about that.
So if you like what you saw in the behavioral interview, invite them back for the core values interview, which is the final interview for my hiring process. So basically, you want to determine if the interview and if the applicant's values align with yours. So my company's core values are the following: accountable, reliable, communicative, results driven, and gritty. Those are the 5 values of my company. So what I do is I ask each applicant to create a quick 5-minute presentation on PowerPoint or Google Slides, whatever they'd like, to basically to explain to me how they embody each of their core values. So they basically are asked to provide a story of something that they've done in the past to showcase their accountability, reliability, and the rest of the core values. So you really get a sense for the person in that core values interview as well.
I like adding gritty in there. That's a good one. So then you kind of end your process and you decide if you want to hire the person or not.
Yeah. After that, you're usually down to a handful of applicants, and then you can continue doing more interviews if you'd like. Or if you know who you want to hire, you kind of get that feeling. I always get a feeling like this is the person. I'm so confident this is the one. If I'm ever on the fence about hiring someone, I typically never hire that person because in the past they really haven't worked out if I'm on the fence during the hiring process. So once you get that feeling, you know, like I want this person on my team, pull the trigger and send a job offer.
All right. And so now, once you've hired that person, you bring them in. And can you tell us more about how you train your new employees?
Yeah, this is important because if you just hire people without any guidance or training material, you're basically setting them up to fail. And there's some crazy stat that 50% of new hires fail within the first 6 months, or they leave within the first 6 months. I don't know if that's exactly what this stat is, but it's very close to that. So, training materials and guidance and onboarding is very important. So, I have a system of SOPs that I created. I call it the SOP creation method is the method I use to create SOPs. So basically, we can talk about that later, but it's important to have documentation to explain exactly what they're going to be doing in their position and a system for creating new SOPs in the case that you're at a startup, you're in the startup stage and you're kind of creating new systems and stuff like that. So effective communication is another thing that's super important. So open and transparent communication is great. You don't want to micromanage by constantly asking, "Hey, like what's going on? Or what's the status of this?" You need to let them do their job, but it's also important to hold them accountable and keep tabs on like their progress basically. Leading by example is another great way to lead. However, I don't think this is the most scalable management style. So I think you need to lead by example in certain situations, but you don't want to be doing the jobs for the employees because you need to be able to delegate. That's a super crucial skill for a leader to have. If someone is doing a great job, say, "Hey, I want to shout out my customer support team lead. She's been doing a great job." And just want to let everyone know that basically she's doing great. And that makes employees feel good about themselves when they get public recognition. So that's another thing I like to do a lot as well.
Definitely. So it sounds like you're more of a transformational leader rather than a transactional leader. And I think it's really important that people know the difference, because being a transformational leader really empowers your team and allows them to do their jobs properly.
Definitely. Totally agree.
So now, let's talk about scaling your business. So how do you know when to start scaling your business after you've had success?
When to start scaling? That's not an easy question. Of course, you're going to want to grow right from the beginning. Right from you have one customer you want to get to that's scaling. You have 100 customers you want to get to 200, that's scaling as well. You're always going to want to grow. But I have some lessons that I've learned in my experience from growing my business. The first most important one is more revenue does not equal more profit. So with my company, we grew from 6 branches to 18 branches from one year to the next. And we quickly learned that not every market that we expanded to was a good market for our offering. So we actually lost money at a third of the branches that we expanded to. So we had 18 branches. We lost money at 6 of those branches that year. So I learned quickly that more revenue does not equal more profit. And I personally like to target that profitability number. So I touched on good versus bad markets. There's also good versus bad hires. So we wanted to grow so badly that triple year that we made some questionable hires, and these hires were unreliable. They gave us stress. And so don't basically grow at all costs. Make sure you're doing it in a controlled way. You're going to markets that you are confident you're going to profit from, and you're making great hires instead of questionable ones like I did that growth year.
Very good. And then any other tips for profitable growth? I know in the past you've talked about quality control and customer retention. Do you want to touch on any of that?
Yeah. I also want to touch on financial management. You need to keep organized books 100% accurate all the time. And you also need to be monitoring the financial statements every month. You should be looking at your financial statements, especially your P&L, and basically saying, okay, where are we at this month compared to last month? What are we targeting for next month? It's important to have those reports available every month. Customer retention is super important. Obviously, if you can keep a huge percentage of your current customers and get new customers, you're going to grow. That pretty much goes without saying. So yeah, another great thing about scaling is operational efficiency. We call this economies of scale. So once you grow, sometimes your costs decrease because you're servicing more customers, and there are certain costs that kind of remain the same as you scale. So as you grow, you're able to leverage economies of scale as well.
All right. So to kind of wrap that up, I guess what technology do you recommend implementing into your business that could help you scale your growth?
I use a ton of technology, and starting 2 years ago, we started building our own custom technology as well. And it's been transformative for our business. We have a bunch of different custom tech that we use to make the operations easier, to make the customer support easier, and to make billing easier, that kind of stuff. So highly recommend building custom technology. But once you're getting started, right at the beginning, I'd recommend just using off-the-shelf technology. So some basic stuff that you'll need is a payment processor to receive payments. I use Stripe. It's getting very expensive, and I'm looking for alternatives. I don't think anyone actually really loves their payment processor, but Stripe typically is the most popular option. You also need a website hosting platform to create a website. So like Squarespace, Shopify, Webflow, Wix, you can choose one of those. I use Vonage for a company phone number, Mercury for my business bank account. And it's also important to have a Google business profile to get reviews and work on SEO for your business. Once you have more employees, you can get into some more advanced technology like Slack. It's not exactly advanced, but you're not going to need it if it's just you on the team. I use a recruiting management platform called Breezy HR as well to organize recruiting. I use a platform called Connect Team to manage employees, basically clocking in and out, sending messages to employees, some training materials, that kind of stuff. And I could go on, but that's a few examples that might be beneficial for you in your business.
Definitely. And it can really help automate your processes too, which is really important for especially new business owners to kind of get that weight off of their shoulders for the daily operations.
Definitely. Yeah. We could do probably 5 videos of these about automation and systemization, and we probably will, but that's an episode for another time.
Exactly. So we're out of time for today, but we will be back next week with Colin Rutherford, founder and CEO of Greenbox Storage. Thanks, Colin.
Thanks for watching. If you found value in this video, click subscribe below for more business content just like this.